pretty much the most correct rifle I have. I think it's a 51 SA. Pretty much all Springfield Armory pots. Have no idea. They're pre-war, post-war. It's a shooter though. I'm going to do a quick down and dirty accuracy check, or what you should look for or do. Number one, make sure your front sight is tight. So many of these come from the CMP, just you can push them left and right. The gas cylinder itself shouldn't wobble back and forth when you turn it. I have come to the conclusion if you can pull your gas cylinder off with your fingers, it's not tight enough. As you can see, there's no lock in this one, so I'll have to tap that off. It's the only thing I did to this rifle when I got it was tighten the splines. Nothing else I did. And I can sneak into the 400s with this rifle, but it's a lot of work. So, take this off. Okay. There she goes. Just a cheap plastic screwdriver. Doesn't hurt nothing. This one's full of gunk because I cleaned it. Take that off. Your handguard should have a little play. Just a little, back and forth. As you get deeper into the guts, things like down here on the lower band, this one actually rocks back and forth. See that? That's NFG. Not going to help much. Want that nice and snug. Probably needs a new pin, and I will knurl the band itself, or I'll try. I have two other bands I'll try. See how tight they fit. You can knurl the barrel too. But new pin, and knurl up the lower band. The handguard, you should have a gap on the rear of your receiver. Right there. Just a little gap, like a business card thickness. You just don't want the gun heating up and this piece of wood getting stuck between your receiver and the lower band. It will bind and it will cause issues. Alright. Moving down the line. Trigger groups. This is definitely not the correct trigger group, but it is all SA. Okay. Your lugs that lock the trigger group to the receiver have to be in decent shape. These ones are pretty good. If you have one that's really bad, you'll get a lot of play locked into the rifle without the receiver. I mean, a lot of play. That's okay. I've got one that will literally, I mean, it's horrible. Open that up. It's going to cock it on opening. Take it out. That right there is the locking lug. Those are a little worn, but you put a little grease on there, and those aren't too bad, but put a little grease on there and they won't wear too much. Key is, don't constantly take your rifles apart. They don't need to be. Clean it, oil it, and it's good for a long time. This one's been sitting, probably 4 years. Just a nice coat of oil on it before I put it away. Just wipe down with CLP, good to go. This trigger is not modified. Your down and dirty trigger modification is nothing more than modifying these lugs right here on your hammer hooks. It doesn't really make the trigger much lighter, but what it does is it shortens that second stage. See how much pull there is there? Well, when you do the trigger mod, that first stage pull will come back a lot further than that. It'll come almost to the rear of the guide, and then it's just a nice little pull on the second stage, just a little snap. So basically you're lengthening the first stage, and the first stage on most of my triggers I've done modifying them will come up to almost 4 pounds on that first stage, and then that last pull is just, you know, 3/4 of a pound, 1 pound pull on the second stage. This trigger is not too bad. This trigger will break. First stage pull is about 3.5 pounds, and then it's got about a total of about 5 pounds pull on my trigger gauge. So you're splitting the difference about 50-50, 60-40, whatever. When you do the modification, your first stage is taking up just about everything. I've never tried to see how light I can get a Garand trigger. I've just got it down to a nice, crisp, clean break, just polishing everything. And I always set mine a little heavy. If you put my trigger gauge on it, on the trigger I use in my match gun, it breaks right at 5 pounds, pretty consistently. So that's about it. You can go through your rifle, make sure all your pins are tight. That's another thing. Make sure all your trigger pins are tight. See all these pins here? They can be sloppy. This one's not too bad. This one's actually good. This one had to be rebuilt, I think. Definitely not original World War II. And another thing to watch for is make sure these pins don't rotate with your trigger. If they rotate with your trigger, they're binding, and it'll feel like crap. Make sure your plunger is in correctly. The window should be on the other side. You should not see the window here. And you can put the plunger itself, a spring guide, and then the plunger itself can be put in wrong. Or if you put it in the opposite way it was when you got the rifle, it can definitely feel different. It's not a huge thing as far as trigger feel goes for me. Anyway, you can also look to see if your trigger rubs up against anything. All through here. See if your hammer hook runs. I polish the back side of my hammers and the safeties. Just get everything as smooth as you can. The rear sight, definitely learn how to tear this apart, clean it good, lube it well, and learn to tighten it correctly. Worst thing you want to happen is this thing to start going south on you during a match. When they get loose, the aperture will drop with shots, or if you just bump it. And I adjust mine pretty stiff, so ain't going nowhere. If you're having trouble with clips ejecting, see this little tab right here on your clip latch? Check your stock and make sure that's not getting hit by the wood in this area. So many, especially the new CMP stocks, will hit there because they're just not inletted correctly or deep enough. And you'll see it if it is. If it's hitting, you'll have a nice, smooth, almost glossy little dent. Just use anything. I've used my pocket knife. Just relieve the wood around there a little bit. Just scrape it away. And those are some basic things you should just check. So I will be addressing this looseness here at a later date. I took this rifle out because the gas cylinder that was on it is extremely tight, and I had it matched up to my best op rod piston, and it's going to go on the rifle I'm shooting cast with, and hopefully that will do. And anyway, you see your op rod got some wear on it, it's hitting something, so try to figure out what it's hitting. Less vibration you can have, the better. And that's about it for now.